The time is just gone 23 minutes past 8, and inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Sadly, we have learned of the passing away of struggle stalwart Essop Ghulam Pahad, who passed away sadly at the age of 84. Now, when one looks at the life of Essop Ghulam Pahad, born in 1939, so he passed away now at the age of 84, an activist, one of four brothers, the other being Aziz Pahad. He studied at the University of Witwatersrand. Like his father, he joined the Transvaal Indian Youth Congress, and thereafter with the African National Congress. He was then banned, and he went into exile. He was in Russia, and also looking at his life after the 1994 elections, he served as a parliamentary councillor to the then Deputy President Thabo Mbeki. In the 99 general election, he was appointed as a minister in the presidency, and he led a full life. And Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken him to his mercy. We make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him forgiveness, grant him Jannatul Firdaus, inshallah. And also the family, our thoughts are with you at this sad moment. For me personally, I had the pleasure, I had the opportunity of a meeting with the late Essop Pahad, and this was at the Sustainable Development Summit out in Sandton. And funny enough, at that point in time, there were some solar panels that were lying around in Sandton, and in fact, the memory flashes by where him and I had a brief discussion just on solar panels, and these are just so relevant at this point in time. So I thought I would mention that. But right now, we're going across to be joined by Mohammad Timol, former political detainee himself and freedom fighter against apartheid, the younger brother of the late Ahmed Timol, rahimahumullah. Brother Muhammad, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Walaikum salam.
Yes, wonderful that you are able to join us this morning, but obviously on a sad note, the passing away of struggle stalwart Essop Pahad, now the age of 84, but led a full life, but also looking at him as a giant among giants, as far as South Africa is concerned, as far as the struggle is concerned, and more importantly, the ending of apartheid and the democracy of this country.
Mm. Yeah, Yusuf was a long life freedom fighter. Our relationship, the Timol family and the Pahad family relationship goes back to our parents. When Dr. Dadu Ghulam Hussain Pahad and my father studied at the Aligarh Muslim College in India in the early 20s. My first recollection of Yusuf Pahad was at an early age because he was a close friend of my brother Ahmed. In the late 1960, I went to study in the UK. My brother Ahmed was living in UK at the time, and he was staying with the Pahads. That's when I got to know Essop and Aziz Pahad very well during the days in exile. My recollection of him when I went to the flat after 2 days, he said, Mohammed, go and make tea for us. Now, coming from home, you never made tea, you didn't cook, your mother did all that. And he said, you are now in the UK, you've got to learn to make tea, you've got to be independent, and you've got to learn to cook. That's the first advice he gave me. The 3 years I spent in the UK, I was a frequent visitor to the Pahad flat. And he influenced me over the years as far as my political thinking was concerned. And it was Essop that I spoke to when I decided to return to South Africa to get some training and to be involved in the underground. Essop encouraged me. He contacted Dr. Dadu and facilitated my training with Dr. Dadu, who then, and I was trained by a veteran called Jack Hodson in the manufacture and production of secret bombs and underground work. I would remember Essop as someone who had dedicated his entire life to the struggle of freedom. And he did not call himself an anti-apartheid activist. He called himself a freedom fighter against a brutal enemy, the apartheid system. Uh, One of the things he mentioned to me was, and I was thinking about 3 years ago, about 3 months, about 3 weeks ago when I visited him. He mentioned that he left the country because he was banned. He and his younger brother Aziz was banned in 1964, and they were shared in a bedroom, and they were not allowed to talk to one another. That was the condition of the banning order. And they requested permission from the Minister of Justice that the fact that they're sleeping in one room, they be allowed to communicate to one another. And that was refused. And he said that's the reason why they left South Africa and went abroad. As you know, he studied at Sussex University. That's what Thabo Mbeki also studied. And his entire life, throughout the period in exile, he was dedicated and involved on a full-time basis, working for the African National Congress and the South African Communist Party.
Yes. Now, apart from just obviously his political affiliation as a freedom fighter, just talking about him as a person, as a human being, and I'm sure a lot must be flashing through your mind right now. Just look at him as a person, his personality. What was he like?
I was very fortunate. I had a very friendly relationship with Yusuf. And I would say that Yusuf and my late brother Ahmed were very close friends, were very close friends. Yusuf, I had no difficulty with Yusuf. And I know some of the comrades that I know in South Africa, they always found Yusuf to be a bit of a hardliner. Yes, he was a political hardliner. And in defense of the democracy and in defense of the struggle, he was a hardliner. But my personal relationship with him was excellent. I visited him very often. And in fact, I was like a younger brother to Yusuf from a very early age. He always considered me as a younger brother. So as a younger brother, I had, I had this excellent relationship with him. Yusuf was a deep thinker. He was one of the foremost intellectuals in the ANC. Uh, he was very brutal when he was not happy with someone's thinking and writing. He did not compromise, but he was very frank and open in discussions. And one of the things that he's a proponent of, I remember, over the past few years, the ANC veterans used to have regular meetings, particularly in order to ensure that Zuma is ousted from the presidency and Ramaphosa becomes the president of the ANC. Yusuf was a proponent of the basic income grant, and he felt that with the huge number of unemployment in South Africa, the government got to introduce the basic income grant so that people have dignity. Those that want to work and don't have any form of income or any form of employment, they should have some sort of income that's to restore some sort of integrity to individuals. He was a big proponent of that. Yusuf was a very uncompromising person when it came to our democracy and in particular as far as the struggle against apartheid was concerned. So my relationship with him for the last 40 odd years, he was my elder brother. Let me put it that way. And he was
Yes.
a close person.
Also, you mentioned that the ANC veterans and being disillusioned with the former president Jacob Zuma, and when one looks at Essop Pahad and his involvement as the minister in the presidency during the Thabo Mbeki era, as well as and he resigned. He resigned immediately after Thabo Mbeki was recalled, and when Thabo Mbeki has resigned, which actually shows, his affiliation, his loyalty, and also we've seen subsequently him issue many statements in terms of South Africa and where the Zuma administration had taken South Africa and where we are at this point in time is the government, and more importantly, where the ANC is at this point in time. And I'm sure that to a large extent, it must have disappointed him.
No, I think Issue has played a very critical role as far as the development of policy is concerned, and he was very loyal to the ANC and to the president of the ANC at that time, Thabo Mbeki. You must remember when Thabo Mbeki was recalled, only 8 ministers tendered in their resignation. In a normal situation, when a president resigns from his position, the cabinet falls. And all ministers should have resigned. But unfortunately, there were some very well-known ministers that did not resign. And I think for Issouf and Aziz and Ronnie Castro and Geraldine Peza Moleketi, 8 ministers on a matter of principle, they felt that they had to resign because the fact that Thabo Mbeki was recalled and they were appointed by Thabo Mbeki and not by anyone else, and therefore they had to resign. So it was a question of principle more than anything else.
Hmm. Just looking at it right now, that we've now learned, sadly, of his passing away. Obviously, the family at this point in time would be making arrangements for his funeral as well. Is there any news on that, or is it still a bit early
I
to
think
talk about any arrangements?
what I do know, and I was just in contact with Ismail Badi, who apparently is in Turkey at the moment. I sent him a message and he told me he was in Turkey. In fact, Ismail was 2 weeks ago at Essop Pahad's house, and I think they discussed they discussed the funeral arrangements with the family, and I'm sure it will not be long before we will get the news. But I would think that before the funeral arrangements are made, people like his very close friend, comrade, and former President Thabo Mbeki, they will look at his availability as well as there's a lot of people within the ANC who would want to attend the funeral. And I'm sure it will be in the course of today, the funeral.
Well, we
So we'll
certainly
hear
will be
about
watching the space, and I'm sure we that news will filter through as well. And the one thing that stood out for me when I had met him in Sandton many years ago is his sense of humor. And he's just had this wonderful sense of humor, irrespective of the seriousness sometimes of the situation. And I'm sure you've been privy to that as well, Brother Mohammed.
on many occasions. Let us say he lived a full life, but I want to repeat again, there's a lot of people within the ANC or in the Congress who felt that he was a hardliner and had differences with him. But Yusuf was a very down-to-earth human being if you really got to know him. And he had the time, one thing about Yusuf Pahad, as far as funerals were concerned, family funerals, the relatives and friends, he would never miss it. He would attend those funerals. Coming back to South Africa, that's what. So he would always keep in contact with his family. And I know a little while back there was a family gathering which he attended. So he kept in close contact with all his family members and all relatives. And he had a good sense of humor. I'll agree with you. But at times it used to be a dry sense of humor as well.
Well, Brother Mohammed, Jazakallah khairan so much for coming on and for the special tribute to Marhoom Essop Pahad, rahimahumullah. Our du'as are with him. We make du'as that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him forgiveness, for his qabr with nur, grant him Jannatul Firdaus, inshallah. And also on behalf of Salam Media, we would like you, if you are in contact, I know you will be in contact with the family, to pass our well wishes, our condolences to the family as well, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them patience, sabr at a time like this. But for now, Jazakallah so much for coming on and sharing what you have and paying the special tribute
Yeah.
to this great stalwart, Marhoom Essop Pahad.
Yeah. One last word. his brother Aziz Pahad is also very ill. I would request that you make dua for him as well. We all were thinking that Aziz would go before Isuf and Junaid Pahad, but Aziz is still around, but he is very ill.
Now, inshallah, we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy on him as well and the family as well. And we make dua for Shifa for his brother Aziz as well. But once again, Jazakallah khairan so much, Brother Muhammad Timol, for coming on and sharing what you have with us this morning. We certainly do appreciate it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam.
Mohammad Timol, a former political detainee, freedom fighter against apartheid, the younger brother of Marhoom Ahmed Timol, reflecting on the life and paying special tribute to the late Marhoom Essop Pahad, whom we've learned had passed away, and we definitely will keep you informed. At this point in time, being a political figure that he was, there's a lot of protocol. There will be a lot to basically follow ahead of the funeral, which will most likely take place today. With that, we're going to go for a quick break. We'll be back.